Have you ever wondered where the famous iPhones are produced, or better yet, the one you're holding in your hand? If you are an iPhone owner, of course. Well, there's a 50% chance that it was produced in Apple's factory complex, located in China. Now, there have been stories that this specific company provides a poor work environment for its workers. Imagine that! It's quite a surprise even to us. And that's why in this video, we'll take a peek inside Apple's iPhone factory in China. What actually happens there? Well, stay tuned to find out. The factory at the corner of Shuyan and Shenzhong roads is one of the most secretive facilities at the heart of iPhone production and covers an area equal to almost 90 football fields. In the center is a plaza with a firehouse, police station, and post office. There's shuttle buses, mega cafeterias, landscape lawns, and koi ponds, with gray and brown-hued concrete buildings meant to evoke traditional Chinese architecture. Also referred to as iPhone City, at peak times, some tens of thousands of staff work there, most living in dormitories on site. During the build-up to a big new iPhone release, the plant can produce as many as 500,000 units a day. That's nearly 350 every minute. Around the factory, supporting businesses such as restaurants, massage parlors, and shoe shops have sprung up to support the mammoth workforce inside the Shenzhou factory, which is dedicated to the final stage of iPhone assembly. Now, several minutes past 9 a.m. at Pegatron Corp factory on Shanghai's outskirts, thousands of workers dressed in pink jackets prepare to make iPhones. To clock in, the employees look into face scanners and swipe badges at security turnstiles. These strict ID checks have been put into place to prevent them from working excessive overtime. And after passing through the metal detectors that detect camera-equipped devices that can be used to leak pictures of unreleased new products, the workers follow arrows on the floor and inspirational posters on the wall. They climb up a stairwell with safety netting draped across the middle to prevent accidents or suicide attempts. They put on blue hairnets and change their shoes for clean plastic slip-on slippers at a corridor of lockers. At exactly 9:20 a.m., the 320-worker production unit lines up perfectly in 4 rows for their daily roll call. The workers have their ID badges scanned on an iPad by a supervisor. This process doesn't last long. And from there, they make their way into a single line to the production floor, assembling smartphones, moving past on a conveyor belt. Some 400 discrete tasks are broken down and carried out by the army of workers. Most employees will perform one task repeatedly over and over again, and this could be as interesting as soldering or as dull as fitting a single screw into the back of the device, again and again and again. According to many reports that have always emerged from inside this multi-million-dollar project, life here is not as nice as their products. To start with, gender balance on the factory floor is said to be roughly equal, and the typical age of factory workers are between 18 and 25, though interns are frequently as young as 16. Factory workers stay close by the plant in dorm buildings, up to 12 stories high, with up to 8 workers sharing a room, and sometimes with only one bathroom. According to undercover investigations, workers are actively forbidden from resigning their post during busy peak times. One worker whose role was wiping special polish onto the LCD screen said she handled around 1,700 iPhones a day, and that it was mundane work, but also that there were worse things to endure in life than monotony. However, the grind of working 6 straight days, only seeing family on Sunday if they happen to live locally, clearly makes it more undesirable, and the most common complaints about working at this facility is boredom. Since the iPhone is such a compact, complex machine, putting one together correctly requires sprawling assembly lines of hundreds of people who build, inspect, test, and package each device. Remember the worker who said 1,700 iPhones passed through her hands every day? She was in charge of wiping a special polish on the display. That works out at about 3 screens a minute for 12 hours a day. Not cool at all. More meticulous work like fastening chipboards and assembling back covers is slower. These workers have a minute apiece for each iPhone. That's still 600 to 700 iPhones a day. Failing to meet a quota or making a mistake can draw public condemnation from supervisors. Workers are often expected to stay silent and may draw rebukes from their bosses for asking to use the restroom. And on top of that, the work is grueling. You have to have mental management, says an insider. Otherwise, you get scolded by bosses in front of your peers. Instead of discussing performance privately or face-to-face on the line, managers stockpile complaints until later. When the boss comes down to inspect the work, the insider says, if they find any problems, they won't scold you then. They'll scold you in front of everyone in a meeting later. It's insulting and humiliating to people all the time. Punish someone to make an example for everyone else. It's systematic, he adds. In certain cases, if a manager decides that a worker has made an especially costly mistake, the worker has to prepare a formal apology. They must read a promised letter aloud. "I won't make this mistake again," to everyone. As a result, this culture of high-stress work, anxiety, and humiliation contributes to widespread depression. If you know of this place, there's a good chance it's because you've heard of the suicides. In 2010, workers began killing themselves. Worker after worker threw themselves off the towering dorm buildings, sometimes in broad daylight, in tragic displays of desperation, and in protest at the work conditions inside. There were 18 reported suicide attempts that year alone, and 14 confirmed deaths. 20 more workers were talked down by officials. In 2012, 150 workers gathered on a rooftop and threatened to jump. They were promised improvements and talked down by management. They had essentially wielded the threat of killing themselves as a bargaining tool. In 2016, a smaller group did it again. The management had to erect safety nets to help avoid such incidents, and the body-catching nets are still there. They look a bit like tarps that have blown off the things that they're meant to cover. To respond to outside pressure, the company decided to let in journalists. However, critics insist they're still not revealing more about how they run the business. According to China Labor Watch, workers need overtime simply to make ends meet because of the low base pay. The advocacy group claims that 1,261 pay stubs from Pegatron's Shanghai facility from September and October of 2015 show evidence of excessive overtime. To counter this, Pegatron said the group miscounted because that period straddled state holidays when pay was 3 times regular. Apple and Pegatron claim that they were never contacted by China Labor Watch, which insisted that it approached Apple but didn't respond. And the group said it collected an additional 441 pay stubs that point to continued excessive overtime. To do that, Pegatron adopted the new ID system with badges linked to a database that tracks time, wages, and even expenditures on dorm fees and lunch. This arrangement helps to push compliance with overtime regulation to almost 100%. However, some employees actually use the opportunity to increase their pay. But that practice has been shut down, said one Pegatron worker. The maximum is 60, but the employees would prefer more hours because the wages are low, the worker added. "We can earn much more in overtime, so we always want more overtime." When the employee joined the firm, workers routinely clocked more than the limit because they wanted the extra cash. But that's not possible now. The system links the turnstiles to the roll call iPads and each worker's ID badge, transmitting automated alerts to the managers if workers approach the 60-hour limit or have clocked in 6 days in a row. Try to go past the limits, and the system automatically blocks entry. One improvement Pegatron managers are happy to share, however, is the increased income transparency. Their employees can check their hours, pay stubs, and monthly lodging and food expenses at the touchscreen terminals throughout the campus. They can also check overtime with take-home pay averages of 4,200 yuan to 5,500 yuan, $650 to $850 a month. Now, that's commendable. I think it's what other companies should be doing out there. What do you think? We hope you enjoyed our video, and just be sure to subscribe to our channel for more of our awesome content. And please, give us a like and share the video. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for timely updates of our new videos. We value your feedback, and feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.